Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to this MicroFocus webinar. This will be a closer look at moving up and modernizing CORBA solutions on Oracle Solaris. My name is Ed Airy. Very happy to be with you here today. I'll be hosting today's webinar. I have some special guests with me as well. Very happy to have Roland Schnir with us from our customer care and technical support team. You'll be hearing from Roland very shortly as we dive a bit closer into this detail and topic today. Also very happy to have John Drago with us. John heads up our product management and development team for our CORBA solutions. You'll be hearing from John as well as we take a closer look at some of the extended care programs we have here at MicroFocus. Before we jump into today's content, just a few quick comments about today's webcast. You'll have an opportunity to pose your questions to us at any time during today's broadcast. If you're experiencing any technical difficulties, any issues in regards to audio or video, please post a question to the Q&A function within the panel, and our team will be happy to support you. Also, if you have a question during the broadcast for Roland or John or myself, please feel free to submit that question at any time during the broadcast. We'll compile those towards the end. We have a Q&A panel, and we'll try to take as many of those questions as time allows. Here is the plan for today. We're going to take a closer look at platform modernization. As you can see, today's webinar is part of a much larger series that we have here at MicroFocus, aligned to our CORBA solutions. You can get a closer look at some of the topics here and some of the dates. We're showing you this schedule here so that you can plan as well, hopefully to attend some of the other webinars coming up. All of them will be at the same time, 11 Eastern, 4 p.m. UK. If you have some questions about these specific topics, again, we're happy to cover those a bit closer towards the end of today's broadcast. Here's a closer look at today's webinar topics. We'll start with a closer look at some of the challenges around Oracle Solaris. We'll take a closer look at some of the platform modernization options you have for your CORBA systems today. We'll then move into a closer look at some of the best practices available for moving existing systems to Linux. As I mentioned, John will take a closer look at our extended support programs and how you can take advantage of those offerings. And then, of course, we're looking forward to taking your questions during our Q&A panel. So let's jump into today's content. It gives me great pleasure to welcome our guest again, Roland Schnir. Roland, I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you very much, Ed, and thanks to everyone who joined today's session. As Ed has explained in his introduction, today we're going to look at some modernization options for your Solaris platform. So you have probably seen some of the news on the internet around last year in September on the massive workforce reduction in Oracle's Solaris software and hardware divisions. Following this news, we've seen an increased number of requests from our customers regarding their potential options or alternatives for their CORBA applications running on the Solaris operating system and Spark platform. And as a result, we've decided to capture some general information and present this in form of a webinar in today's session. Next slide, please, Ed. So this is the current roadmap from Oracle's website below. And if we take a closer look at this Oracle Solaris Spark roadmap currently available, this raises a few questions and uncertainties with regards to the future plans, especially with regards to the next version of the Solaris operating system, Solaris 12, and coming with that, same questions, with regards to what's going to happen to the Sun Studio C++ compiler updates going forward. So we don't see any details with regards to, let's say, next year or the years after plans. So next slide, please. Now, I assume that Oracle will continue to support Solaris for several years, but from what we've seen, customers are already starting planning for alternatives, especially given that an uncertain path for platform has an impact on their ability to plan for their future IT strategy. And what is also worth mentioning is, the potential rise in hardware and software costs for the platform, especially when compared to open platforms like Linux, for example. and as well, concerns about the recruitment of skilled personnel for this platform when compared to, again, the open platforms like Linux. Next slide, please. So let's take a look at what options we have when we talk about platform modernization or platform migration, for the CORBA products. And Micro Focus CORBA products are currently supported on several Unix and non-Unix platforms. And from the Unix platforms, apart from the Solaris OS, our CORBA products are supported and certified for SUSE, Linux, and Red Hat Linux distributions, as well as IBM's AIX and HP's HBooks operating systems. From the non-Unix platforms, currently supported and certified, we have several versions of Microsoft's Windows operating system. If you're interested in more details with regards to the exact C++ compiler or JDK version for each of these OS and platforms, you can check out the product availability and support schedule on our website, and we have all the detailed information with regards to the exact versions of compilers supported. So I don't want to go into too much detail on this here. So next slide, please. Now, if you're looking at minimizing costs and risk in keeping your mission-critical CORBA applications moving forward, we can strongly recommend considering, a move to an open operating platform like Linux, with that regard, a potential move to the latest version of SUSE Linux or Red Hat Linux. As I mentioned, our CORBA products are supported and certified on both these distributions of Linux. And also worth mentioning, if you have any other platform requirements, you can always contact Micro Focus, and our product management and development will assess, any sort of certification for a new platform. So next slide. Now, let's look at a few general points that you need to consider when moving your CORBA applications to Linux. This really depends on whether your CORBA applications are Java-based or C++-based. From Java point of view, migration from one platform to another is quite straightforward, as you do not require rebuilding your application. So that's basically the advantage of Java as a cross-platform technology. From a C++ point of view, things look a little bit different, and you will have to recompile and rebuild your application. However, from a pure CORBA perspective, you do not have to address any CORBA-specific issues. This is one main advantage of or feature of CORBA itself, that it provides platform transparency, and it basically shields your application from any platform-specific stuff like endianness of the platform, any OS-specific system calls, and so forth. So migration from Solaris to Linux will address rather general porting tasks like different C++ compilers with potential different compiler flags, adjustment of make files and so forth, and as well an assessment on dependencies of third-party libraries which are being used by your CORBA applications. The location transparency feature of CORBA itself also provides you the ability to take an incremental approach for the migration of a, let's say, larger CORBA server environment. So you can take, for example, one CORBA server application at a time, migrate it and deploy it on the new platform without really impacting client applications using this CORBA server application. So the client applications will be able to transparently use the same CORBA server, which is now running on a different platform. In the last several years, we've worked with quite a few customers who've already successfully transitioned from Solaris to Linux, and we're also currently working with customers, who are still in the process of transitioning from Solaris to Linux. Next slide, please. So I won't go too much into detail on the general support offerings. I just wanted to mention, you can check our website on the exact support offerings that we have. If you are not familiar with the Micro Focus maintenance and support plans, please check the website. Just as many other companies, Micro Focus offers different levels of support, ranging from standard to business, premium support, and as well as an extended support offering, which John will be giving you, an overview of that. And with that, moving to the next slide. So this is basically a comparison from our website as well on the different support level offerings. As mentioned, this information is also available on the website, and for everyone interested in all the details, please see the website. And with this, I'd like to pass now over to John for a few words on the extended support offering prior to opening up for the Q&A session. Next slide, please. So over to you, John.
Thanks, Roland. So I want to thank everybody for attending today. And we do have some people from my engineering staff online if you guys have more extensive questions about migrating from Oracle Linux to other Linux platforms. We've noticed that there are a large number of customers, specifically on the VisiBroker side, that are on older versions, and as part of that recognition, we wanted to emphasize the fact that we're offering extended support plans for those older versions of VisiBroker. Specifically, the versions we're looking at are offering extended support on is VisiBroker 6.5, VisiBroker 7, and VisiBroker 8.0. Now, VisiBroker 8.0 is binary compatible with the newer VisiBroker 8.5, but it looks like there's still a lot of customers that have not yet made the jump to go over that. So I'd like to urge everybody that you may want to download that if you're under maintenance and take a look, because it is a drop-in update, even though the version numbers changed. So there's no recompile of your existing VisiBroker services that is required in order to go to that version. What we offer with extended support is 12-month increments of support with fixes for critical security issues, fixes for severity 1 issues that are raised, access to previously just released fixes, and access to Micro Focus support staff, which that's probably the best asset right there. We are planning on having an update for maintenance and issues that we found in VisiBroker 6.5, 7, and 8.0, either later this year or early next year. The team's in planning right now. We're trying to determine payload. So once we have a determination of what those payloads are, we'll have some kind of announcement about when those fixes are going to be out. But that's basically a renewal service pack for those 3 older versions. We're also considering whether or not to do a 5.2.1 release. We know of several customers that are still running version 5.2.1 of VisiBroker. So if you have one of those, you just need to make it known to us through support or through your sales rep that you're interested in that. We may add that to the platforms. And I think that is basically what I wanted to cover on that. So I'm good if we want to go to Q&A.
John, thank you very much. Before we jump to the Q&A panel, just a few quick notes about getting started. So if this topic is of interest to you in terms of modernizing your CORBA platform, perhaps taking a closer look at moving up to SUSE or Red Hat Linux, we'd love to talk to you a little bit more about how to do that. One of the best ways to do that today is if you are a customer on maintenance with Micro Focus, you can certainly reach out to your account manager directly, and they can help you get started along that journey. You can also reach out to our support team directly, our customer care team at support@microfocus.com. If you're not on maintenance today or just not sure, you can certainly reach out to our support team as well. We'll get you in touch with the appropriate account manager that covers your part of the world, and certainly talk to you about the next steps and taking the next steps and moving up to the latest versions of Linux. If you're also interested in taking a free trial, we do have a variety of options available for you. You can see here on the link provided on the screen, there's several different ways to get access to the product. Simply jump up to this link. You'll be presented with a registration form, and you can get started using your 30-day trial just by completing that form. So that's how to get started. And as John mentioned, we'd love to take some of your questions. I'm sure you have a few based on the content we've discussed here today. Let me take a quick look here at the Q&A panel through GoToWebinar. And I'll start compiling those questions. If you just joined us or joined mid through the broadcast, please feel free to submit your questions using the Q&A function within GoToWebinar, and we will compile them there for our panel of experts. So John, it looks like I have a question to start here that might be appropriate for you. If you could talk a little bit more about how long, for example, is Micro Focus planning to support existing CORBA products on Solaris Spark? Could you dive into that in more detail, please?
Yeah, so I mean, as you can tell by our renewed interest in providing support for older versions of VisBroker, I mean, we have plans to support Oracle. Well, I guess I'm calling it the new name. So we have plans to support Solaris Spark and Solaris on all platforms, x86 as well, for as long as Oracle provides support for them. And it probably in true Micro Focus fashion will provide support past that point for customers that are still on those platforms. So we don't have any plans to stop supporting it.
All right, thank you, John. There's another question here around assistance or support. So does Micro Focus offer any assistance in moving a CORBA application or system from Solaris to Linux? Roland, could you maybe jump in on that one? Roland, you still there?
Yes, sorry. Sure, we do offer assistance. So if you are a customer on maintenance, the easiest way is to just open a support incident and contact us. If not, you can still contact us, and we'll get in touch with you. If you're looking at getting on-site assistance with regards to platform move or an application migration, we can do that through a consulting service as well. So we've been doing this in the past and visiting customers and providing assistance. So either way, you just need to contact us, and we'll assess, or what we've discovered in the past years is in many cases, this kind of applications have been deployed a long time ago, have been running, and no one has really touched them. And once, the skills are not there anymore, we can assess together with you the effort required in moving or migrating an application as well. So I hope that answers this question.
That's great.
Yeah,
yes, that's great.
Yeah, we're also, I mean, we have additional resources available to us now, post merger with HPE. We're actually out in California right now training additional consultants to be able to go on site and provide CORBA resources, and we're also looking at maybe the possibility. This is not something that I'm pre-announcing or whether, but we're looking at the possibility of providing some sort of courseware for customers so that they can then train staff for working on their CORBA applications.
Great, thank you, John. So maybe a follow-on to that question, Roland, just in terms of that timeline. You talked a little bit about this, I think, during the best practices piece. How long does it really take, to move an application or to move really from Solaris to Linux? Is there any sort of timeline that we can advise on there?
It really depends. I mean, if we're talking about Java-based application, that's relatively straightforward, and it also depends on the size of the CORBA environment. So if we're talking about just one application which needs to be moved, that's quite easy. If you have let's say 100 CORBA applications that need to be migrated, you'll need to take that into consideration. So it's as easy from taking a Java-based CORBA application and moving it within 1 or 2 or 3 days to several weeks or months. So it really depends on the size of the environment.
All right, great, thank you. So this might be a question for Bruce and Matteo, respectively, with the expertise with our VisiBroker and Orbix solutions. The first question is more, again, along the same lines of effort, but specific to the application, the CORBA application. Is it about the same? Is it more? Is it less? Bruce, maybe for you to start, to move a CORBA application running on VisiBroker to Linux. Are there any specific details we need to be concerned about there?
Well, firstly, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. And my answer to that really is that I think for a similar level of complexity running on VisiBroker versus Orbix, I think you're looking at comparable level of effort for both products to do the migration across to Linux. It would be very similar. I don't think if you look at both products side by side, there's the entry points are quite similar. So what's your view on that, Matteo?
Yeah, I would echo your comments. I think it'll be about the same. In other words, it should be just as easy to migrate an Orbix application to Linux as a VisiBroker application. Your migration experience should be as straightforward in both cases. It's really down to the application itself, its third-party dependencies and any porting concerns that relate to porting a C++ application from one platform to the other, nothing specific to CORBA.
All right, thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Matteo. That's great. I don't see any other questions in the queue, but I'll give you another moment here, folks. If you would like to pose a question, feel free to submit your question directly into the panel, the questions panel in the GoToWebinar. This session today, this video is being recorded, so it will be posted on the microfocus.com website. Those that have attended and also registered for this webcast will receive a direct link to be able to access the webinar. It typically takes a couple days following the broadcast, but you'll receive that directly from MicroFocus.
I have a technical question for you, Ed.
Yes.
Can people raise their hand if I ask them a question, so we can get a count of interest? My question is for the group that's attended this webinar. I'm just wondering, because we've been having some discussions about computer-based training or live classroom training for CORBA for companies that are using our CORBA products. Is that something that they would be interested in? So I don't know how they can respond, if they can respond by.
There is a function on the GoToWebinar panel for them to raise their hand. So that's something, if they want to do that, if you're able to do that by clicking that function on your panel, we can sort of count the number of hands that are raised. I see a few of those going up right now. I'll compile that. We certainly can ask a polling question in the future too, John, which we might decide to do with some of these questions. So.
Okay, great.
I see 3 hands right now for going up for interest around that, but others may be having difficulty using the feature, but I see 3 at the moment.
Yeah, maybe we can raise this question, through the email when we send out a link to this webinar.
Yeah, definitely.
And people interested in any of this training sessions, can just reply.
I think it's a good idea, Roland. We'll put that in the follow-up email and have folks respond directly. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions in the panel at this time. So, Roland, John, Bruce, and Matteo, thank you very much for your support today. And again, thank you all for joining us for our first in a series of CORBA webinars here at Micro Focus. As I mentioned, we will be publishing the schedule on the website. You also get a copy of that in a follow-up email with a link to this video. So again, thank you very much for joining us here today, and have a great day.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out, and I promise things get more exciting in the other webinars. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.